hardest thing in real estate sales, the number one hardest step is getting an appointment with a qualified buyer or seller. Once you do that, you guys, the rest of your life in real estate, you'll make millions. Getting an appointment with a qualified buyer or seller is your number one quest in your whole entire real estate career, the rest of your career. So just embrace it. That is your only thing. Appointments with qualified buyers and sellers is your focus. It's your life. Become obsessed with it. Go to sleep thinking about it. Wake up thinking about it. That is your new life.
We know all real estate agents want to acquire clients consistently so that they can grow their business and income for that great lifestyle. This broadcast brings you the best and top people in the industry to support that quest. This is Dave Fanale, and I'm here to bring you the Real Estate Skill Builder broadcast, Real Estate Talk TGIF, brought to you by Real Estate Skill Builder and Align, your premier real estate solution. Good morning, everybody. Dave Fanale here. So, like I said, episode 395, Real Estate Talk TGIF, and we're so excited to have Viya Williams with us today. And Viya, before we get started, I do have one question where I typically ask everybody that joins the broadcast, and I will tell you that 90 to 95% of people do get the answer incorrect. So the question is, what does TGIF stand for?
Well, okay, I was going to say TG, thank God it's Friday, but I'm going to say, thank God it's finale.
You are absolutely correct. Bing, bing, let's ring that bell. Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I like that.
Not just a pretty face.
But anyway, so today, look, guys, I have a question for everybody that's going to be watching this with Viya here. If your business had to run on leadership alone, not luck, not the market, would it stand strong or would it fall apart? Viya is someone who has built and scaled one of the most successful real estate teams in the Pacific Northwest, helped architect high-level systems and leadership platforms at place, coached top agents, team leaders nationwide, built a reputation as one of the sharpest minds in excellence operationally, lead generation, talent attraction. She's smart, she's strategic. She's one of the few people in the industry who can take an agent, team, or leader and elevate them with clarity, discipline, and precision. Welcome, Viya.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm so glad to have you here. Like I said, like we talked earlier in the week, we met, a couple of years ago at an event, and very, very quickly, if we even met. But anyway, you're here. We're going to talk about everything that's going on in the world. You know, with everything that we've got going on, you know, we talk about clarity and discipline, probably the two most important things in business. So that being said, how did that get you along in your path to where you are today? I mean, you had to start somewhere. There's been a lot of successes, and a lot of people have failures too. What were yours? How did everything in the past structure and create the person and human being that you are today?
That's a great question. Actually, and you know, just for fun, I'm going to push back on the premise of the question a little bit, which is that I don't believe that it's clarity and discipline. I actually believe it's clarity and consistency. And so we can talk about that. But, you know, what I love about looking back on my career, and I'm still well in it, so I don't mean to say like it's done, I'm looking back, but
right.
I've been in, if you look at residential real estate, I've been in most roles. I have been a new agent. Obviously, we've all been a new agent. I've been a very successful solo agent. I've grown a large team. No, I would say medium-sized team compared to today's standards, you know, medium-sized team. And then I have run brokerages. Ran 8 franchises, one of the largest franchise groups in the nation. Then I've worked for prop tech. So I've worked for Place, and I have an announcement in the next few weeks of my next role that I can't announce right now. And that's in the real estate tech space. So I have been in almost every role. I mean, I haven't been a lender and in title, but I've been in almost every role. And so my perspective is vast when it comes to that, right? And so I think that discipline is something we beat ourselves up about a lot. That's why I push back on that word a little bit. And I think that it's more about an adherence to certain habits and making those habits consistent that's important than being disciplined. So most people can be successful in real estate with sort of a lack of discipline. Probably like not a lot of trainers are going to like me saying that, but I'm going to say it. If you did like 3 things a day consistently as a habit, you're fine. If you literally just get on the phone for an hour a day, call a bunch of people, and you have a habit and consistency around that, you don't need to be that disciplined, because you will get the business and then you'll show up at your appointments, and it doesn't really take discipline to show up at an appointment, in my mind. Does that make sense? But
Yeah, it
yeah.
does.
So that's the only reason I push back, is I think that it might, if you have ADHD, if you're someone that's just a little more creative and flowing, you really don't need that much discipline. You only need like one or two good habits and you're good. But clarity, OMG, Dave, clarity is everything. Probably the biggest lesson as I get a little older than some of our viewers and listeners. Dave, we're in a mature season. We're in a wisdom season of our lives. I think we can agree. And
Yes, we are.
clarity, if there is anything I would tell the youngins, it's spend the time thinking and planning clarity before brute forcing life. I mean, if I knew that 20 years ago, Dave, if I knew that the time spent really getting clear on, next steps, on flywheels, on what the next right step is done the right way at the right time, who I should be in business with. Clarity is power. Clarity is everything. Like that, I could talk about that for the whole time.
So I want to talk about that, and I want to maybe dissect a little bit, because people, well, yeah, I'm really clear on what I want to do, but what is clarity? How do you get clarity? I mean, is it knowing what you want to do? Is it actually taking the time to do it, the consistency, the commitment? Talk to me about what your definition of clarity is.
I love this conversation so much. So here's the thing about clarity. When I was younger, I thought I had to know my whole North Star. I thought I had to know the 10-year vision, the 5-year vision. This might shock you guys, because I've run pretty big organizations and I'm involved in a large level. I do not have a 5 or 10-year plan. I do not have one. You don't need one. I'll tell you a story. Is that okay? Can I tell you a story?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, go ahead.
So I worked for Ben Kinney for many, many years. One of the smartest, most incredible leaders in real estate, in my opinion. Yep. My very biased opinion, I should say.
I agree with you 100%.
Side by side with him for over a decade. And we were, I had a real estate team, and he had just hired me to run his, at the time, 6 Keller Williams franchises. So I went from a real estate team to having not even run one real estate office to 6 franchises, which actually was like 8 offices, by the way. There were some satellite offices, 30 or 40 staff, and like 1,250 agents, right? And it was a long process to get there. And we had been meeting, and he felt like I was up to the task. I was, like, are you sure? Are you sure I could do this? And so I kind of said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. The next right step is I'm just going to spend the first month to 6 weeks, and I'm going to interview everybody. I spent time with almost every staff member, my office leaders. I took off site and spent, it was just asking questions, a ton of questions, meeting with the controller, getting a feel for the financials. It was just meeting upon meeting. I didn't do anything. We met, and I said, okay, after 6 weeks of this, these are what I think our 4 priorities are in this order. And he was like, I agree. Okay, great. And in order to hit these priorities, the number 1 linchpin is this activity. He said, 100% yes. That's exactly what I would have said. We just, he gave me the breathing room to figure it out.
Right.
Okay, so I go and do it. So it's January. So that was in September. It's January. And he and I are in Washington, D.C. And we had a whole morning of meetings, and we were about to present to a couple hundred people. And they stuck us in an office in the middle with some Sammies. So we had some sandwiches. And I go, Ben, I'm overwhelmed. I remember when I was so clear about what to do, and I feel overwhelmed. It's like there's so much to do. The list is getting longer, and I don't know what to do next. And I'm getting a little frozen. And he goes, Viya, see out that door over there? And I go, yeah. And he goes, what do you see? I said, well, it's a sliding glass door, and I see a rockery in front. He goes, right. So when you walk out that door, what way can you go? I go, well, it looks like you can either turn right or left. It's like, great. So let's say you want to get to the White House. Which way would you turn? I go, I have no idea. He goes, I know. But when you walk out of that door, what are you going to see? I go, well, then I'm going to know which way to turn, because I need to go to the parking lot. He goes, exactly. When you walk out of that door, you're going to see which way to turn. Which way do you think? I go, let's say right. He goes, what if you're wrong? I go, then I just turn around and go left. He goes, exactly. So let's say the parking lot's on the left. When you get out there, are you going to know which way to turn? I go, maybe. Might show me more. And he goes, okay, what if you're wrong? And I go, I just turn around again. And he goes, so what's the next step you know you need to take, even if you don't know the 10th step? And I was like, well, it's this. And he goes, well, that's what you need to focus on. Let me know how I can help. See you later, kid. So the point is that we do not need to know the whole thing. I use the Martin Luther King quote the whole time. We don't need to see the whole stairway to know that the next step is the right step. And that is how I've lived my life for a long time. And I think that we often know what the next right step is, and that's good enough. It's really good enough 99% of the time. Is it good to have a vision? Is it good to have a North Star? Is it good to have a mission that we're driving to? The answer is yes, for sure. It's really important to bring our people along with it, but we really don't need it. All we really need to know in life for most things is the next right step and the right time to do it, and do it the right way. And I would add, in the last few years, do it with a full decision. Full decision. Because you said something earlier when you asked me the question. You go, Via, someone says, this is what I'm doing. I've got clarity. That we all know what it's like in life, and it doesn't happen all the time. But when we look back and we go, I was in full decision mode. Do you know that feeling? When
Yeah,
you're
I do.
oh man, when I was building this business, or when I met my now spouse or my significant other, you just knew. You were in full decision, blinders on, burn the ships. Nothing was going to get in your way, right?
Right.
That full decision moment is it is something that it's really important. It's a really important moment, and it's something we need to embrace and probably do for more things in our life, right? So if you're on a full decision and you know what the next right step is, that's all you need.
So, okay. So one of the things I've seen in my career, which is pretty long, and I might be over the wisdom part that we talked about earlier, is I've seen people make decisions. Let's just use a little thing for example. Like there's that shiny object that, somebody's selling this new process, and you dive deep into this process, and then you get to that valley of despair where it was supposed to be really good. Let's just use it as a J curve, right? I like that analogy, where you get down, you're down on the bottom of that J, and it's like, shit, this isn't working. I got to abandon it. Where if you just went a little bit longer, you're going to take off.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't know that. You're in the valley of despair, and you thought you were clear about it. And it's like the doubt starts creeping in. I do a whole session on doubt. And I just always say, well, you got to trudge along in that doubt, just like you had to decide whether you're going right or left. How does that affect when you're in that valley of despair? Because a lot of agents are there from time to time. And as we see over the past few years, there's a bunch of them there now. Mm-hmm. So what's the best way to climb out of that?
Well, excuse my analogy. All of you young moms are not going to like this analogy, but I have 3 kids, so I'm allowed to use it. So when you're in the valley of despair, and you're in doubt mode, you're standing on the bank of a river and you're seeing a whole bunch of babies in the river. Bad analogy. So what I would say is we need to go upstream. We need to hike upstream, and we need to stop whoever's throwing the babies in the river. That analogy is not mine, and it's a horrible one. It's from a book called Upstream. Highly recommend. So to me, this goes back to the initial question, which is clarity. And you can brute force your way through a lot of things in life, and you'll get there, but it is a hard trek. If you put the pressure and you make the next right step, really making sure you have good clarity, really making sure. And then after that clarity, you go in a full decision, burn the ships decision. What I find happens during doubt, during valley of despair, during all of it, which I'll come, is that you put the time in, you're in full decision, and you have spent enough time on the clarity to get rid of the doubt. You're like, this works. Others have done it. We just need to tweak tactics. We're modeling something that's already been done. It's already been accomplished, right? We're not recreating the wheel. So by that point, there's an assumption on my end that I've gone upstream and handled it a little differently now than maybe I would have done 20 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So that's my response to that. A lot of this can be handled upstream.
Okay, so you cut it off at its head, so to speak.
I have faith in my process at the head of the river. That so that when I go through that valley of despair and that doubt, I can push through it with a lot less brute force than I used to. When I was younger, I did it, I hit my goals, but man, there are a lot of dead bodies. There was steamrolling happening. It was a lot of force. And I think that I know that the kind of older, wiser, more experienced Via now can be a little less like that, because I really do spend the time on clarity, more time that is comfortable on clarity. And that means, getting advisors, getting the right advisors, people who I really, it means analytical. It means, things that just are not always natural for me. That's been my year. And it's changed the pace of my year. It's really not comfortable. I'm biased towards action. So for me to kind of slow down and get time on clarity, to have meetings, to talk, to do spreadsheets, it's not really that natural for me, And so my life is better when I do that.
So let's change direction here a little bit, because in our promo we talked about that we're going to talk about best lead sources, setting up for 26, a bestseller lead source, and then lastly, agent attraction recruiting. I want to talk about lead sources, because that seems to be something that everybody like tweaks them, right? So when they see, like, look, let's face it, if you look at one type of ad on social media, everybody and their sister are going to be, and brother are going to be sending you, you're going to be hit with this lead source, this lead gen source, this coach, that coach, this AI. Talk to me about the best lead sources.
Yeah. So what's cool about what I do. So for those of you guys who haven't had the opportunity to meet, I was a solo agent. I am in Seattle, Washington, by the way. Started growing a team really early. I went to my first, at the time, Keller Williams event. It was called Family Reunion. There's thousands of people in 2012 in Orlando, Florida. And I didn't even know, you laugh. I think all the young people laugh, but I didn't even know real estate teams existed. Like, it just wasn't a thing back then. Right. I had never heard of it before. I'm over here in Seattle. If you're selling over 40 units here, you are still, and you were a rock star. So these teams and we're an expensive market, and these teams that were selling hundreds of units, I was like, what? Like, it just blew I can't describe how much it blew my mind. You wouldn't understand unless you understood. So, and then I did that. And then I took over, like I said earlier, Ben Kinney's brokerages. And then we grew that from 1,250 agents to 770 agents in two and a half years. It was really successful. And then I went over to be head of industry for Place. And in that role, and I just exited that role, but I have a tight consulting relationship with Place. I'm still very affiliated with Place. And I'm about to step into a next role. And so my scope is, really broad. And as head of industry, I was very keyed into all of the different brands, all of the different ways to doing real estate. I probably looked at 200 P&Ls from small, middle, big size, large mega teams from all different brands. I've seen it all. I've seen more P&Ls, and there's a very short list of us who've seen that many, right? I know what it's like behind the scenes. I've met with hundreds and hundreds of team leaders. I coach and consult them. And the only reason I'm saying that is because I do have a cool aerial view. I just kind of have a neat perspective, right? So I would say when internet leads came out, they were all buyer leads way back in the day when we started figuring out the internet. And I know that might sound really funny to some of you younger agents, but Dave and I and a bunch of us, OGs here, we were in real estate, in the transition. If you think about it, people used to search with magazines. I know it sounds crazy, newspaper, paper. Yep. We all witnessed this, right? And it was all internet buyer leads. It changed the world. It changed the world we live in. The next lead source now that I think is that powerful is seller cash offer leads. I think seller cash offer leads I've never experienced leads like that. You look at Mark Spain, you look at Open Door, some of these companies have based their entire model on them, and they're just taking a segment of the population who is open to a different way of selling real estate, and they're using that as a lead source because there's a whole other segment of the population who will respond to those leads and curiosity, but not do a cash offer, just list their home. We finally figured out how to get seller leads online now. It used to be at the beginning of this process that buyer leads came online and seller leads were just still coming by referral or farming or other methods, right? This is really, Zillow Offers was a pioneer in this when ZO came out. It was kind of doing the same thing, right? It was finally figuring out seller leads. So that is, to me, the only lead source to talk about right now. It's the most important. It's a very unique lead source. It takes a very unique training for those team leaders or broker owners watching. It's a different mentality. It's a different way that we would train typically an agent to go take a listing. So there's a lot of nuances to it. You have to do it the right way. People haven't figured it out yet, but it's the number one lead source I'm seeing that I'm most excited about.
Yeah, a lot of people will look at, say, a seller cash offer leads. Does that mean that they're actually getting discounts for cash? Because that's what he typically says through our lifetime of business, et cetera. Is that what that means for you?
Well, what a seller cash offer means is simply that a homeowner is responding to some kind of an online ad or some kind of an ad or whatever it is, a sign, an ad that says, hey, are you interested in getting an offer on your home? So it's the first time we've been able to figure out how to scale that question and that answer. Like, are you interested in possibly selling your home? And they raise their hand. So it's a little less relevant that it's cash offer. What it is it's just the first time we've really been able to have an aggregate lead source like that of sellers. And so the percentage of them who actually use the cash offer, as real estate agents, we don't really care. We want the listing, right? We want the listing. So the cash offer companies care. As real estate agents, we just are like, it's a lead source. Even if 5% are going to do we don't care. Because the other 95%, we're going to just list their home in a traditional way. So that's really my point.
So the action we're trying to get from the sellers is them simply just to raise their hand. Simply just to raise their hand.
And so when you look at the time of year that we're recording this, which for those of you watching it later, we're recording this a week before Christmas. So in December, when I look at it now, this is the time, if you start investing in seller offer leads now, this will make your spring. This is your spring because you figure we're 90 days out, right? We're on 90-day segments. So for all of the teams looking at business planning, looking at what they want to do next year, it's funny. A lot of the teams I coach went a little bit more buyer heavy this year because it was really hard to sell listings. I get it. I still will always maintain, we still want to have a listing focused business. It's harder to price. It's harder to get sellers to price them in the right way, which is why I love cash offer leads, because they're, by very definition, to your point, they are a discount. So you're able to enter a pricing conversation in a different way than a traditional listing, right? So
that is true, right?
So I just love them.
So okay, so what we're doing is we're placing ads out there similar to a buyer ad, where a buyer would be, are you interested in a list of homes to buy? And here we're actually, are you interested in to see what someone might offer you in cash? They're parallel, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. And teams or solo agents can do that. Most of the time we're just buying the leads, we're just buying and other companies are doing that for us. Right. But you can do it on your own for sure. What I do is I have them on my signature. I have a cash offer landing page, but I'm buying leads from a third party.
Okay. All right. So when it comes to lead generation, seller cash offer leads being number one, doesn't an agent need more than one pillar of business?
Mm-hmm. 3.
And how does that work out in the way you've set things up and way you've coached agents and teams? How have you set that up from a small level on up to the larger scale level of teams?
Yeah, it's a great question. And one of the number one questions I get asked is, how do I know I'm ready for a team? Or I want to start a team. How do I do that? Somewhere around there. Like a solo agent is just thinking about it. And so I can answer that in 2 ways. I can answer it with that and that. We really want a 3-legged stool. If you think about a stool, it falls down if there's only 1 or 2 legs, right? So we do want a 3-legged stool. Every single team is going to, though, have one main lead source, though. And the other 2 and 3 are going to be smaller. And 90%, 95% is going to be Sphere. Is their number one source. That's pretty common. The common number 2 would be internet, and people are starting to group it. It's interesting. It used to be internet. Now it's so specific, so it's not uncommon for a mega team to say Zillow is their number 1, Sphere might be their number 2, and then another internet source or maybe farmer area might be their 3rd, right? For a typical solo agent, though, or smaller, medium-sized team, it would be Sphere number 1,
right,
A non-Zillow internet is number 2, which I'd like to see cash offer leads. I'd like to see seller leads as number 2. And then number 3 is kind of the wild card depending on their specialty. It might be open houses. If they're an open house team, it might be whatever. So how do you know you're ready to start a team though? Or how do you know that you're ready to scale and grow? And my answer to that is when you have more leads than you can service on your own, or when you have more leads than you can service with maybe you, and maybe you already have 1 or 2 agents, and your problem isn't lead flow, your problem is servicing the leads and there's too much leakage, that's when you know you're ready to start a team or grow and scale your team, right? And so sometimes those are coming from leads that you are generating with prospecting, and every team's different. Sometimes those leads are coming in on the internet. Sometimes those leads are coming in because you're just a listing machine. And every listing, here's my little formula, Dave. This is good. This is a good one. My formula is for every listing in your prime area that you bring in, not that octagon house way out in the country that's outside of your area, right?
Yeah.
But in your prime area, for every listing you bring on, that brings in enough leads for 1 agent for 1 month.
Yes, it does.
Between open houses, and this is what I call the listing multiplier plan, right? You should have a good listing multiplier plan. How can you get at least 1, maybe 2 pieces of business from each listing? From open houses, from being able to knock 555, from maybe boosting some internet ads, right, that come in, from quote unquote sign calls, which mainly now are texting responses, as we know. And so when you add all those together, you should be 10, 15, 20, if not more, depending on your open house traffic in your area, leads a month. And the average agent, when you're looking at growing and scaling a team, you want to be sure you're providing, I think, 10 to 15 leads a month. And then they should be self-generating enough to bring to the table their own pieces of business, right? Based on the tools that your team's giving. Right. So that's kind of the math that I use. And that's kind of how I know 3 pieces of primary business. You can have up to 6. Because having at least 3 solid lead sources, I think, is healthy.
So, all right. So, we've got a lot of time of indecision, a lot of time of where's my next deal coming from a lot of different agents, right? And like you said, there's agents out there doing really good business, and they're doing comfortable business. Maybe it's 15, 25 deals, which is something. When I had my brokerage, those were great numbers.
Great numbers. Yeah.
Right. Those were great numbers. And of course, the money is going to depend on your market too. So my market, 15 deals. I mean, you're doing really well because our average price is around 700, right? 800. Something like that.
15 deals. You're one of the top agents in Seattle. That's a great, yeah.
Right. So, and perspective, right? It's all on perspective. When, I happen to be aligned actually with that same name with a great team. And, to see the people I work with go from 10 million to 20 million to 30 million. It's just, I look at it and I'm just so amazed, because when I had my brokerage, it was, I was hoping to do, as a team, as a company, 50 to 100 million, and like you said, you saw all these people doing all this business. I would go to Century 21 conventions and see all these like mega producers and companies. Say, holy shit, how are they doing that? But bringing that down to the minute starting point of an agent, there's agents out there that are really grinding and not getting anywhere. There's agents out there that really want to grind, but they don't grind. That's what I think about the word discipline, which is completely different than I don't want to get into that now, but
I hear you. It's good. Yeah.
Right. So there's the agents that, okay, so I've got to do this, I got to do that. What would you say to a newer agent or a stuck agent, what they need to do? Are there metrics? That's the big word these days, KPIs, et cetera. So many dials, so many conversations, so many contacts, however you define that, right? What's the metric? What's the KPI? What's the mental metric for the agent? Because you know what? I work with agents, been working with agents for a really long time. And I get stuck in, okay, how do I help this person? Because every person's an individual, but it all comes back to the same thing. And I don't want to sound like a broken freaking record saying, you got to make the calls. You got to discipline yourself to do this. You've got to become in 9 to 5. What's the answer, Via?
I love this question. I love it so much. Okay, new agents, pay attention. Pay attention, new agents. Do not overthink this. The only thing you need to focus on is how many 2+ minute conversations you were having with people about real estate, period, end of story. Here's the good news. Here's the good news. It can be your dry cleaner. It can be your barista. It can be someone at Target. It can be someone at the Apple store. It can be someone at a car sales lot. It can be friends. It can be family. It can be prospects you're getting from the internet. It's 2+ minute conversations on real estate. Okay, on real estate. So I do want to be sure that we're talking about that. And here's the good news about not overthinking it. I say it all the time. It's IJM. It's just math. So I don't know, I don't know your math, Dave. I don't know Molly's math. I don't know Kevin's math. I don't know, Sally's math. And so the only way they're going to all know their own math is if they start having these conversations and they start going, okay, here's what I'm noticing. What I'm noticing is for every 20, and by the way, if you're using a universal average, use 20. Try to get 22-minute conversations a day that you're lead generating. So that would be 100 a week. That's aggressive. You may not hit it. Maybe for you, it's better to say 2 or 3 times a week. And side note, there's something really important to me. And I mean this is where I get a little serious. Do not break the promises you make yourself. So don't overpromise and then not deliver to yourself. If you are breaking the promises you make yourself, you're eroding your spirit. It's really important to not do that. So if you can't look at me in the eye and say, Via, I can't do 5 days a week, 22+ minute conversations, don't say you're going to do it. Okay. Do what you say you're going to do. I'd rather have you do 1 and hit it. Right. And hit 5 a week, right? But I'd like you to do more. Okay. So for every 22+ minute conversations, what you might find is, for every 22+ minute conversations about real estate, I'm finding I'm setting 1 appointment. And for every appointment I set, I'm finding I'm converting 70% of those into buyer brokerage agreements. And then for the few listings, because you're a new agent, you're probably going to have more buyer opportunities at first. And then periodically when you get a listing, it might be 50%, right? And you might need to bring in a partner at first when you're new. The point is learn your math. You don't know your math until you just jump in. And this goes back to the beginning of the call, which is knowing what the right step is for you. The next right step is to just talk to as many people as you can about real estate. Then your team lead or your broker owner or Dave or me or someone in your world, then we can coach you. Once we start getting some data and some numbers, and we can look at you and go, oh, you're having a front-end conversion problem. Very common. This is what I mean by that. A front-end conversion problem is you're not having a problem making the contacts, but you are having a problem setting the appointment. That's the most common problem we have. That's the most common challenge, is getting the appointment. The hardest thing in real estate sales, the number one hardest step, is getting an appointment with a qualified buyer or seller. Once you do that, you guys, the rest of your life in real estate, you'll make millions. Getting an appointment with a qualified buyer or seller is your number one quest in your whole entire real estate career, the rest of your career. So just embrace it. That is your only thing. Appointments with qualified buyers and sellers is your focus. It's your life. Become obsessed with it. Go to sleep thinking about it. Wake up thinking about it. That is your new life. And by the way, side note, if that sounds horrible to you, this just may not be your career, right?
Right.
If you get excited by that, it's great. So learn your math. Have conversations, and then, get some coaching and get some tactical training. And maybe you're having the meetings, maybe you're setting up the appointments, maybe you're not converting to agreement at the appointment. Okay, that's easy to coach. Someone can coach you. You can get on YouTube. Someone can coach you on a good buyer consult or a good listing consult. You know what I mean? And then if your problem is you get the buyer consults, you get the listing consults, and they're not converting, trust me, someone can help you with pricing, with talking to sellers or buyers. You know what I mean? So we don't know where to help you until you just dive in and start doing it.
That's a great answer to everything. And that's the problem solver to most real estate agents, because, it's just getting there, the conversations and knowing, excuse me, knowing where the gap is, where the, I hate to use this word, but where the failure is knowing in the numbers what's going on. Like if you have great conversations, you're not getting the appointments. Okay, let's fix that. You're getting the appointments, but you're not getting the listing or the agreement signed. Let's talk about that, right? And then you're home free with that. And that's really the thing that's important. I mean, we've been saying know your numbers forever, but nothing's changed. I mean, really, nothing's changed. If you know what's working for you, if you're comfortable making the calls, number one, that's your first hurdle. If you're comfortable talking on the phone and not sounding salesy, that's your second hurdle. And then making the appointment is really cool. So with all that stuff,
they don't be comfortable making the calls, they have to do them anyway.
Well, yeah, they have to do them anyway. And that's the way I look at it. And it's like, well, yeah, every week, if I have weekly one-on-ones, it's okay. So did you do your calls? He says, why are we talking if you have not done your calls? Okay, so let's talk about that. So what do you need to do? What do I need to say to you in order for you to do that, since this is your livelihood? Okay, so look at it as a 9-to-5 job. Right. When you go to your 9-to-5 job, you start working at 9, you take a lunch break at noon, and you come back whenever it is, you work till 5 and you leave. And every Friday you get a check, right? Yeah. So if you want that paycheck, you have to do the work, because if you're not doing the work to produce results, your boss is going to fire you, or he's going to yell at you. He's going to say, look, you're not doing shit. Why should I be paying you? Yeah. So just look at it as a 9-to-5 job. And who's your boss? Look in the mirror. That's your boss. So if you suck as a boss, you suck as your own boss, then there's going to be a problem. So this is the way I try to help people to look at it. Does that make sense to you? Does that work?
Yeah, it's great. It's perfect.
Great. So, all right. So we're here. You just mentioned we're at this is January, pushing the year there, December 19th, 2025. And a lot of people may have it done already, their business plan. You alluded to that earlier, talking about how to grow their business and where they want to go. For me, I actually start making the decisions and thought process in August and allow everything to evolve over the next couple of months. And I'm ready to hit the ground. I've already hit the ground running for next year. Like I've already started my year. How do agents set up for a great 2026?
Well, I love that. And for all of you guys who are forward thinking and you think in 90-day cycles and everything, I think it's great. I'm going to speak to those who it's December 19th and you haven't done your business planning yet. And I'm going to say it's okay. It's fine. Because of what I said earlier in the call. Number one, I'm more of a quarterly planner. Do I have annual goals? The answer is yes, I very much do. But I really put the pressure more on the quarter. I find that our brains are more wired to, we can see, just feels more doable. It's more tactical that way. And here's the thing, I have talked to some teams. They're like, I've just been so busy and we've been scrambling and we finally got momentum in Q4, which kind of seems to have happened around the country a little bit. Man, Via, we were just going to town. I've done no planning. And I'm like, it's fine, because the actions you're doing now are all the actions you would be doing anyway, had you plan. Right. We do need to take the time to plan. And this is a good 2-week period to plan, right? It is a good 2-week period to plan. So my advice to anybody is to just reverse engineer everything, but put the pressure on the right thing. And this is when we go back to clarity. It's like a theme, right? We keep going back to that because it's so important. So of course I love planning. So my comment is, you can predict your future if you tell me how many appointments you're going to go on or how many appointments you're on. This whole thing is dictated by appointments with qualified buyers and qualified sellers, right? Put the weight on performance. That's on appointments. That's our number one KPI that we want to plan for. How many appointments you have really will determine the success of your year. So if you're a team or a broker owner, and you're like, all right, we want to hit, okay, here's a good example. One of my coaching clients, they want to hit, I think they did 200, and they're going to do 208 transactions this year. And they want to hit 350 next year. That's a pretty big jump, right? Right. So what they're not going to do is convince their current agents to double their production. What they know they need to do, they're going to work with all of their agents and whatever their goals are. And then we had to do the math and figure out how many agents they need to hire and by when in order for them to hit their goal, right? So figure it out, it's all reverse engineered. That's all you do. So you want to, and by the way, I think for most agents and small and mid-sized teams, really for anybody, I think you should back out with the income you want to make. So if you want to make $1 million a year from your team, if you want to make $500,000 a year from your real estate business, if you want to make $150 or $250 from your real estate business, whatever it is, back out of that, take your costs out and just kind of go, okay, this is what I need to sell, or these are the agents I need to recruit. These are the margins. These are the splits. It's very simple. And I think people overcomplicate it. This is very simple.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, what you said about they're already doing what they should be doing, that's a great way to look at it, right? A lot of people say, well, I didn't hit my goals this year. My goal was, let's just say my goal was 20 deals and I only hit 17. I said, all right, fine. So if it takes you another month to hit that 20 when you cumulatively into 13 months, 14 months, that's what it took you to do that amount of business. So how do you cut a month or two off of that? Number one, that's something to look at too. But it's also, we talk about teams and you talk about companies and brokerages, adding people. So let's talk about how we go about, attracting agents to our team, attracting agents to our organization. Now in companies such as Real and EXP, it's, how do we attract them to our downline for the passive income of revenue share? And like, I know what my goals are for this year and for next year. I have it, honestly, for me, I've got an end date where I want to end it, right? Yeah. So I'm building passive income and all that other stuff that I want to do. And now I'm concentrating on what I love the most, right? So now it makes my life a lot easier. So where do we go? How do we start? What do we say? How do we do it?
Well, I love this question. After 15 years at another brand, I am now in RevShare world because I couldn't ignore the math. I've been in the recruiting space in real estate for a while. And when I started really seeing the math, blew me away. So in my mind, this is what I have told myself. And I just moved over in May to the RevShare model. So what I told myself is that I need to get as many frontline people as possible quickly, because you have to give it time to build out after that. Right. So if you're in RevShare world, that's your mantra. Have as many people as you can underneath you. At EXP, they're called FLQAs. I actually don't know what they're called at Real, so you'll have to forgive me. I don't know the proper term. Someone will tell us the term who's watching this, hopefully. And that's kind of the goal, right? So I have huge goals for myself. I think I have 77 people in my organization so far, and I think I have 8 FLQAs so far, something like that. And I've been here since May, so a little slower than I had wanted, but not horrible either. Like we're getting there. We're getting there. I teach a training with Spring Benson. Every other week we teach a training to our organization on agent attraction. So reach out to me if you want to pop onto those. It's technically for people in our org, but we come from abundance and we're happy to help. So, there's a lot of things I would say about agent attraction, having been in this space a while, but new to RevShare, right? I've been in the recruiting and attraction space with brokerages, with my own team, with Place, but not with this for myself yet, right? So I think a couple things are that you have a story. And I've had so many agents come to me. I'm thinking of one yesterday, and he goes, one objection I'm getting is people are like, well, if your brokerage is so great, why aren't you selling more homes? And I go, okay, well, what's your answer to that? And he's like, look, I've got 4 other businesses. They're thriving. This is everything I wanted. I'm an entrepreneur. Real estate is about 1/4 of my income stream. That's what I wanted coming in. Like, it's great. And I'm like, that's your story. That's a massive success for you. It's actually what most people want when they come and talk to me. They actually want that. They don't want real estate to be their only stream, right? So are you telling your story on social media? Are you curating an email list? Who is it that you're telling your story to? Because you'll attract people who want your story. You'll attract people who are aspirational to what you have. Like Dave, there's a lot of people who would love this platform. 390 is consistent. No one can catch up to you after 7 years, right? It's a massive platform. So you saying, hey, I'd love to tell you how I built this, what I've learned along the way, what I would not have done again. Do not do these 3 things. Do not do these 3 things. What set me back 3 years, which I didn't know back then. Do these 3 things. OMG, if I would have done these 3 things early on, whatever. Everybody's got a story. And you're going to attract, what's cool about you is with your story, you're going to attract people who are attracted to this, which means you're going to attract builders and you're going to attract attractors, so that's kind of neat. And on our training yesterday, there was an admin of a team. She does marketing, a really big team, but she's not in the position of being like a lead agent, right? And I was like, oh, and we were building her story on the call. I'm like, your story is you can curate somebody's experience at this brokerage. You can say, hey, talk to me. I know everybody. I know all the systems. I can tell you exactly what your plan is and where to go, right? Everybody's got a story. So agent attraction is really attracting people, I think, to your life and, who are aspirational for you. And so in order to do that, you kind of need to know who your avatar is. You need to know who you're talking to and I call it an ICP. A lot of us call it an ICP. We use that in tech a lot, right? Ideal customer profile. Yeah.
Profile, right.
And so I have a beautiful template that I use Perplexity, ChatGPT, and Claude, melded them together, whatever. I have a beautiful worksheet and template I'm happy to send you can send to people, but where you fill it out, like mine has a name, and she's a she has a name and whatever. And so I write my posts and I kind of direct my post to her. And she's really me 3 years ago, at 4 or 5 years ago. And really your avatar is probably going to be you, same thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that's all it really is. And then it's depositing value to John Cheplack, our friend, depositing value so that if 1 out of 10 times you want to withdraw, by withdraw, I mean, you want to ask him for a call to action, come talk to me, come to my webinar, come to my event, whatever it is, you've earned that right, because for the most part, you're not asking him for stuff. You're just giving stuff, right?
Right.
So Alec Cheplack has kind of taught me that we want to have our posts kind of want to be roughly a third. We want to be a third authoritative, like hey, buyers and sellers or agents, I'm going to give you tips and tricks or whatever. A third is honoring and celebrating the people on our team, the people in our downline, people that we have recruited, that we're trying to recruit to. So if you're recruiting to a downline, it would be, look, this person came a year ago and they sold 5 homes. This is their first year here at this brokerage, and they sold 18 homes this year, and they were able to buy their first house, celebrating that kind of a thing. And the third one is your personal life. People buy people. It's you. So you have to give them a glimpse of, your life and how you live. And if they like what they see, that's going to attract them more than almost anything, right? So
you need to have the energy, the ambition, and the commitment and clarity for where you want to go, right? I mean, that's really what it all comes down to. So you know what? Just one other question about agent attraction, and we talked about avatar, right? And we're going to come across people that are not our avatar, and so everybody understands. One of the things that Via was talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the person you're most likely to connect with is someone just like you, right?
But it's not one you'll connect with, but yes, correct.
Well, that's what that's where my question's coming from, right? So I know that when we're talking about people we want to do business with, whether it's agent attraction, whether it's buyers and sellers, I mean, we're always going to do much better with people that are like us, right? Maybe we drive a similar car, or maybe we shop the same place, or we like the same movies, or whatever it is. We get abstract as we want to get. But the question is, you're going to run across people that are not like you, right? When it comes to agent attraction, we have to start somewhere. So if we're talking to someone, if we want to grow our business, and we're talking about FLQAs, which for those out there, that means frontline qualifying agent, which means they qualify for the next line, the next line, the next line, so on and so on and so forth. Is there an avatar of production that we would like to have, or is it just anybody? Because let's face it, what I like to call legacy brokerages, which I was one for 21 years, it was numbers. It was, okay, so maybe they'll do a deal sooner or later. What's the thing there?
So such a great question. And that's why having a worksheet is good. And that's exactly what happens, by the way. So there's kind of a socioeconomic level of, kind of a, what gender they are. Do they go to, where do they shop? Where do they eat? What car do they drive, right? To your point, I attract people far and wide, male, female, whatever, because there's also, I am in a specific niche, right? I attract solo agents who are maybe thinking about either joining a larger network. If you think about Place and different things, or they want to grow and scale a team, right? High level solo agents and or team leads and or brokerage leaders, right? So that's really more my avatar than what gender it is, right? And what car they drive. Mm-hmm. That said, where I find it varies a little bit is like, so then I might have a male of a totally different age or whatever, because they're relating to that, my production content. That said, I will also get people who are brand new agents or even thinking about going to real estate because they are female, my age, and they relate to the car I drive. So there, you know what I mean? There's
I know exactly what you mean. Yes.
yeah, or they're related to the person I highlighted, which has nothing to do with me. Oh my gosh, that person you just highlighted, can you do that for me? Because I'm them, you know? So so that's what does happen, right? I find that if you speak to everybody, though, you speak to nobody. So
That's
being
correct.
very clear about having that avatar and having kind of a target. Like I'm so clear. Clarity seems to be the theme, but I'm so clear on who I'm speaking to, which is exactly who I said: high level solo agent, team lead at any level, and broker owner, broker leader. I'm so clear about that my content is going to be consistent with that. You know what you're going to get when you see me. When you see me as a talking head, it's going to be personal growth that's going to feed that, or it's going to be about that.
That's a great answer. That really puts everything, brings everything together. And you know, we could go on and on about so many different things. We had a lot of great topics today, and that's a really important one for growth of the agents and our business. Because let's face it, I mean, look, people are going to leave, people are going to stay. It's just the nature of our business. And you know, the great part about it is, you know, people leave for different reasons, and we want them to leave so that because they have clarity on where they want to go, and maybe somebody else is better for them, right? Mm-hmm. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing I have clarity on is that my goal is always to help as many people as I can. And as we end this broadcast today, I have two things left for you, Viya. One is a question, one is a comment. The question is, how can I help you grow your business?
Oh, that's great. Well, I coach and consult. Solo, high-level solo agents, real estate team leaders, broker owners. If you're a solo agent, I have a great national agent network that I'm launching with Spring Benson. It's going to be awesome. You're looking for a little bit of community without joining a team. You want, let me know. Reach out to me. Social media. The Viya is my Instagram. You can just DM me. And that's awesome. Thank you for asking that.
You're welcome. And last but not least, the comment is the hat. I mean, I know a lot of your friends have the hat now.
I'm
right?
so excited. I will post it when I get mine in the mail.
Awesome. Great. So we have a whole bunch going out. I got a little behind on. I got a huge box in my car going to the post office today. Yours will be coming out. Everybody, I want to thank you so much. Next week will be December 26th, the day after Christmas. And I talked about a success story. We have Chris Tarta coming on. He is with Align, but he is going from, in the teens of millions on up to 30. And he's just doing it because of how he does his business. And he's going to talk about how he's done it and how he started. He started as a chef with a couple of restaurants, burned himself out, became a realtor. How does that happen? We're going to ask and find out. That'll be Chris Tarta next week. Viya, thank you so much for coming on. Please stay on for a minute as we go off. Everybody, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas.